Welcome back to the video series about the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. In the previous episode, we heard that after 2 months of settlement, the north of the Ganga River encountered a serious drought while the south continuously rained, leading to terrible famine in the capital Vaisali. The land was cracked, crops failed, many people died from starvation and disease spread. The kings and generals of the states sent messenger Mahali to Rajagaha to ask for help from the Buddha. King Bimbisara advised them to go directly to pay homage to the Buddha. Buddha, aware of the situation, promised to reach Vaisali as soon as possible. He pointed out that the 3 disasters at Vaisali were caused by heat, evil from the leaders, and the absence of gods. He assigned Venerable Ananda to memorize the Ratanasutta Sutta and sent Moggallana to meet King Bimbisara to ask for food support for the people. King Bimbisara agreed to provide 2,000 carts of provisions and send people to transport them. When the Buddha and his delegation arrived at Vaisali, a heavy rain fell, clearing the polluted air and bringing joy to the people. Buddha and his monks organized relief, distributed food, and treated people. After the situation stabilized, the Buddha preached a sermon on national governance and people's safety, emphasizing the importance of love and solidarity. Local leaders reformed politics and elected virtuous leaders, leading to the return of prosperity to this land. The Buddha stayed at Vaisali for half a month before returning to Rajagaha, leaving a deep impression in the hearts of the people. The Life of Shakyamuni Buddha, Volume 40. That day, the Buddha leisurely led Rahula to recite alms for alms. He carefully instructed the novice how to walk, how to stand, and how to hold his alms bowl and stand outside the door of his house, and how to say blessings to donors. Just a short distance away, Rahula seemed very skilled. While stopping by a tree to rest in the sun, the Buddha asked, "When you bowl like that, where is your mind placed?" Rahula said as if answering a lesson, "Place mindfulness in front of you, world-honored one." "So just look in front of you?" "Yes, yes!" The Buddha stopped for a moment and then walked side by side with Rahula. "So what if there's a stone under your feet? Can you see that stone?" "Yes, I see." "So when you see the stone under your feet, is there no longer mindfulness in front of you?" Seeing Rahula looking confused, the Buddha smiled and said, "Please pay attention and listen carefully. When you are concentrating, be mindful and keep your mind in one place, one subject. For example, the breath. For example, the kasiness. When you are wise, you are always awake and clear inside and out. When there is wisdom in concentration, not only does the mind stay at peace, but it also observes all dependent arising. When there is concentration in wisdom, you are always awake and clear, and there is no mundane dharma that can shake your mind. Do you understand those 4 cases, Rahula? Yes, although it's a bit complicated, I already know it. Yes, it's really complicated and confusing. Just memorize it. But this question is not easy. So when bowl like this, which of the 4 cases should we use? Rahula thought for a moment. Yes, sir, use the phrase, "In wisdom there is concentration." Yes, that's right. The Buddha smiled happily, then said, "However, what if Tathagata still pays attention to every step, but Tathagata still observes everything happening around? In this case, do we have to use the phrase, 'In concentration there is wisdom'?" Very good, Rahula. However, you must learn this one more thing. When reciting a vase for alms like this, if we are practicing meditation, we should use the case of wisdom with concentration so that the insight and insight can continue. Continuous. If we are practicing meditation, we should use concentration with wisdom so that the mind can stay firmly connected continuously. Do you understand? The Dharma content in this dialogue is very advanced, only for monks with many years of practice, but with such a specific and succinct explanation, preached over and over again, the Buddha equipped Rahula with the most basic learning, the most core essentials. At noon, the Buddha stopped by the Ambalatika garden. There were quite a few monks staying here to eat food and take a lunch break. The monks came to pay their respects, and sat down to one side. The Buddhist monk gave a few words of encouragement and then said that he needed to spend time with Rahula. When everyone had left, the novice Rahula quickly brought in a basin of water for him to wash his feet, then stood to one side. Finished, looking at the pot of dirty water, Buddha said, Is this dirty water still usable, Rahula? Yes, I can't use it anymore. Likewise, this is a lesson for contemplation and enlightenment. People with dirty hearts are the same. They are of no use. Just dump it. Having finished speaking, the Buddha poured the water into the basin, leaving a little remaining. There's a little bit of dirty water left. How about it, Rahula? Can it be used? Not even a little bit. Likewise, Rahula, this is also a lesson for contemplation, for enlightenment. The human mind, even if it is just a little dirty, cannot be used. Buddha looked at the boy and gently continued, "What makes the minds of living beings become dirty? Does Rahula know?" "Dear, people with evil deeds, evil precepts, people without the 5 precepts, Venerable Buddha." "That's right," Buddha nodded. "So among those 5 precepts, which one do you find the most difficult? Which one is the most difficult to keep?" "Dear, I can keep every precept, but the precepts of lying and lying. Sometimes you get punctured, torn in that precept, right, Rahula?" The novice blushed, hesitated for a moment, then shyly nodded. Buddha used his index finger to gently tap the boy's head. "So your mind is dirty. Even a little lie is dirty. Does this head see that, Rahula?" "Yes, my disciple understands clearly." Buddha emptied all the water in the basin. Looking at the empty pot, the Buddha said, seemingly asking casually, "Looking at this empty pot, I wonder if it teaches us any more lessons." "Yes, yes!" Rahula quickly replied, "Dirty water cannot be used. Then the pot containing dirty water must also be cleaned." "Yes, you're right again. So here is the next lesson. Not only does it lie, but the mind that holds that dirt, such as laziness, sleeping during the day, being playful, eating too much, must also be thoroughly cleaned to be clean before it can be used, to become a good person." "Yes, I understand. Are there any more lessons in that empty pot, Rahula?" Seeing Rahula frown, the Buddha suggested, when referring to a stupid person, a useless person, a person with nothing in mind, who only knows how to eat to fill his stomach, sleep around his body, and enjoy seeking the 5 desires, the popular language of this country mocks. They are empty people, empty people. Rahula, I understand, disciple. A person who does not know how to search for, accumulate any good dharma, and does not take the trouble to learn good things, will be laughed at by people as such an empty person. Buddha praised good, good. Then he turned the pot upside down. If the pot turns upside down, what lesson will we learn? Dear, if the pot is turned upside down, it is no longer useful. It is dark inside. That is the lesson. Exactly. Buddha continued, when people are too bad, too dirty, too many evil precepts, evil actions, stubbornness, stupidity, wrong views, then that mind is overturned and cannot be used anymore. No light of intelligence can penetrate there. They will live forever in that darkness. So don't overturn the pot, okay, Rahula? Rahula's whole body felt cold. He stammered, "Yes, I will try more." After contemplation, as soon as he opened his eyes, the Buddha saw that next to him there was a basin of clear water and a white towel. The novice monk was still meditating next to him. That image was so beautiful. The Buddha happily looked at it forever. Truly a little angel. Waiting for Rahula to leave his meditation, the Buddha pointed to the water basin. "Where is that bronze brass that looks so noble and precious?" "The royal family's offerings to the monks, world-honored one." Buddha nodded and said, "The water is also very clear, isn't it? Surely there is a good water well?" "Yes, the well has a rock vein, so it is clear, sweet, and cool." Saint Jivaka made offerings and advised monks to pay attention to drinking water. Buddha transformed the story. The basin is clean and precious. It contains clear, sweet, cool water. Everyone likes to see it and wants to drink it. Isn't that right, Rahula? Yes. Likewise, when our mind is clean and precious and contains inside the virtues and virtues that are pure, wholesome, and cool, then everyone loves and values them. Everyone is happy. Everyone wants to be close, including gods and humans. Rahula listened attentively to the valuable lesson. Buddha pointed to the water basin. "Look at the water basin, Rahula." "Yes, that water basin is not only clear, but also quiet. Is that true?" "The same is true for our minds. Our minds are clear, so we are clear. Our minds are quiet, so we are irritable. Then we sink to the bottom. Clear mind is wisdom. Quiet mind is concentration. From the pot of water, we can also learn the lesson of concentration and wisdom, Rahula." "Yes, it's so great." Also, Rahula, thanks to that clarity and silence, we can still see our faces. Please look at your face and see. When Rahula looked at his face, the Buddha whispered in his ear, "You can clearly see every hair and eyelash. Isn't that right?" Yes. Likewise, when we have concentration and wisdom, we can constantly reflect internally, and you can clearly see all the worries, tingles, irritations, and afflictions. So every bad thing and dirty thing in the mind can be seen clearly. Isn't that right, Rahula? That's true, world-honored one. In the afternoon when it was cool, Buddha and Rahula returned to Truklam. On the way, they met a group of elephants. Each child is large, heroic, with poised, majestic steps. They walk in an orderly manner, keeping a regular distance, in a straight line, not looking back, not looking sideways. On the elephant's head, each keeper is wearing a soldier's uniform, holding a hammer to control the elephant, sparkling with light. At a glance, the Buddha knew that this was a well-trained army of war statues, tasked with protecting the royal citadel, and sometimes even serving as vanguard soldiers in battle. Stepping into a park, the Buddha asked Rahula, "When going into battle, these warrior elephants, do you know what they used to fight?" "Yes, perhaps it's the hose, because I see them eating sugar cane with the hose, sucking water, playing with water with the hose, but also uprooting trees, uprooting roots, and breaking branches with the hose." That's right. So what if the faucet is injured? Dear, if you are injured, you will have to go to the Royal Animal Hospital for treatment. So it must know how to protect its trunk, which is to protect its life, right? Yes, that's Rahula. When in battle, our warrior elephants use all the weapons they have. It uses its trunk, uses its front legs, uses its hind legs, uses its front body, uses its hind body, uses its tusks, uses its head, and uses its tail. All those weapons themselves can be injured or disabled, but don't let them hurt you with the hose. Why so? Because eating, drinking, and breathing are all in the tap. If the trunk is fatally injured, it is considered an elephant whose life has been taken away. So at any cost, the elephant must carefully protect its trunk. So if the faucet is broken, everything is broken. That's right. When in battle, the elephant is ready to suffer hundreds, thousands of arrows and spears, even if the head, tail, ears, back, stomach are injured but the trunk is not injured. The elephant is still a soldier and has the ability to be resilient and brave, but if the hose is injured, it is considered abandoned. Likewise, a bhikkhu in Tathagata's teachings, living in the world while still being affected by what to eat, what to wear, what to live in, what to sleep, must also suffer hundreds, thousands of criticisms, insults, slander, dysentery, gossip, edge, nitpicking, mixed with malice, many unpredictable traps and thorns of the world. However, that monk, even if his stomach is injured due to lack of food, the skin is injured because the clothes are not warm enough. Is my back injured from lying on the ground or a tree? Is the ear injured by the evil or abusive speech of such people? Is my leg or arm injured because I'm weak and emaciated? The face may be injured by the sun, rain, frost, and wind. But if the mind is not injured, it's okay. Everything is injured, but if the mind is not injured, that monk still exists strongly in the Tathagata's teachings. If the mind is injured, then watch out. That person's virtuous life will no longer exist. So, if an elephant knows how to take care of its trunk, then you must also know how to take care of your mind, Rahula. This lesson is truly profound. Nomad Rahula thought that anyone who has heard it once will never forget this story about the dirty water basin, the clear water basin, and the elephant's trunk for the rest of his life. "Oh, the mind," Rahula muttered. "I don't see where you are, but everything, wherever you are, all happiness and suffering are all because of you." In the spring, the weather was mild. The Buddha, along with the assembly, dozens of elders and about 500 monks, especially Ananda, Nanda, Rahula, monks of royal origin, and soldiers Sakya, traveled to the north again, crossed the Ganga River, arrived at Vaisali, temporarily settled at Kudagarasal, coupling of lecture halls, multi-story houses with pointed roofs or pointed-roofed halls, Mahavana forest. Here, in addition to traveling to different places, Buddha knew he still had many things to do. This year, the climate and weather in the Lichavi Republic are very favorable, the country is prosperous, and the people are prosperous, so holding alms bowls is quite easy. The elders received invitations from many aristocrats and homeowners in the area to place bowls at private homes, and they often preached favorable dharma sermons as well as gave refuge to quite a few people. Elder Mahakassapa and 500 disciples came to pay homage to the Buddha and listen to the precepts. At the end of the Dharma talk, the Buddha sadly said, "You look so weathered and skinny. Isn't it very difficult to beg for alms, Mahakassapa? Your health is still normal, world-honored one. I heard that you only beg for alms from poor families. Is that true? Is there bias or loss of equality?" Disciple understands, but because of compassion, disciples want to help the poor. Let them earn some blessings to rely on for many future lives. Buddha asked again, "Some people are so miserable, their circumstances are so unfortunate. Tathagata heard that you enter nirvana and receive concentration for 7 days, then go to transformation? There are some times like that, but sometimes we also spread loving kindness, world-honored one." Buddha smiled at the lotus bud. A top arhat, entering samadhi for 7 days, or radiating loving kindness energy. Whoever gives the bowl to him, the blessing is very great. Not just a little blessing, Mahakassapa. Elder Mahakassapa could only bow his head and smile very modestly. Venerable Ananda appeared from somewhere, holding a new robe dyed yellow, looked at Elder Mahakassapa, and said, "Dharma brother's robe is so old and worn out, please let me offer this robe. Although the fabric is ugly, it is in good condition." "Thank you, Dharma brother." The Venerable said slowly, "But I am used to torn fabric that is picked up and then mended. The other sheet is so intact, please save it for young monks or others who need it more." And no matter how much Ananda begged, the Venerable did not accept. Buddha had to contribute. Accepting and maintaining the 13 superior dhammas, Mahakassapa does not accept new robes, Ananda. The other day, from the country of Mala, the elder Kodai came to Mahavana to inform the Buddha that King Suddhodana was seriously ill, probably could not survive because he was nearly 100 years old, and wanted to see him one last time. So immediately the next day, the Buddha and the assembly set out, and every 2 or 3 yojanas the delegation was supplemented with elders and some monks from faraway places. They were all arhats who had exhausted their defilements and had supernatural powers, knowing that this trip was the Buddha's filial trip, so they automatically came. So when they arrived at Mala, the congregation had over 1,000 people. That afternoon, when he stopped at a roadside forest and used his supernatural powers, the Buddha knew that something important was happening at the border of the 2 countries, Sakya and Koliya. Number is the Rohini River. Around March and April, the water level begins to dry up. This year, the weather is more drought-prone, so the condition of fields and crops on both sides of the river is in danger of being irreparable. Previously, the people of this area blocked a dam. From there, they pulled water to pour into the fields on both sides. However, because they wanted to save rice and crops, people on both sides had a dispute over water sources. Initially, there were words, insults, and defamation of each other. Then, with spears and spears, both sides were fiercely ready to shed blood to take over the water source. More dangerously, the armies of both sides began to deploy, preparing to go into battle to defend their country's farmers. Right at that moment, with time like an athlete stretching his arm, the Buddha appeared. He stood in the middle of nowhere, right above the dam dividing the 2 countries. Clearly, he is standing in the middle of the battle, on the paternal side, on the maternal side, to act as a mediator. Seeing the Buddha as majestic as a Brahma, with a bright halo, standing tall in the middle of nowhere on the border of the 2 countries, peasants threw spears, soldiers threw weapons, bows and arrows, armor and brass, knelt down and bowed. They knew the Buddha's power for a long time. Buddha said, "Tathagata just wants to ask you one question. Is water more precious than blood, or blood more precious than water?" Everyone bowed their heads. That question did not need to be answered because everyone understood. So is it worth it? You are 2 brotherly countries, allied, united, and loving each other. Now, because of the struggle for water resources, bloodshed has resulted. So for you, is water more precious than blood, the drops of blood of your brothers and sisters? Please answer, Tathagata. The Buddha's power, along with his words that weigh thousands of pounds, created a rare miracle. Both sides realized they were wrong, repented to the Buddha, and then agreed to reconcile. Dear friends, the Buddha continued, helping each other in times of trouble is precious. In difficult times, finding a way to sharing bitterness and pain is the virtue of a great man. Listen to Tathagata's words and utilize water resources on both sides equally. Don't be foolish enough to get into bloody disputes. You won't have time to repent later. Having said that, the Buddha disappeared in the middle of nowhere. Both sides knelt down and bowed like stars. Returning to the forest, the Buddha walked again with the crowd as if nothing had happened. Venerable Mahamoggallana spoke softly, telling the story of how the Buddha had just reconciled the water dispute that was about to lead to bloodshed between the border people of the two countries, Sakya and Koliya, at the Rohini River, for Venerable Ananda to hear. Venerable Ananda was very interesting, thinking to himself, "The world-honored one always protects life. In the past, he was a crane, now he is a source of water. And throughout the journey, he always reminded us to preserve the trees, plants, water sources, and even green lawns." Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Geoy Duck. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel Buddhist Story. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, The Life of Buddha Shakyamuni.